So this starts out with when atheism can't answer your questions. For one thing, this starts out with a straw man because atheism isn't meant to answer anything other than, do you believe in God? Like, that's the one question that atheism answers. And that's no, I don't believe in your God. So he's already starting off from a horrible position because he thinks that atheism answers more than it actually does. Atheism has no bearing on any other subject other than your personal beliefs about a deity. That's it. I don't know why people can't get past that. I don't know why people don't understand that. Anyways, let's get to when atheism can't answer your questions. What questions you got there?
Hey science, can you tell me how the universe was created? Why certainly, it began from a single point called singularity.
Okay, so just to stop it right here, he starts out by saying, when atheism can't answer your questions, but he's like, hey science, explain this. Atheism is not science, and already he's at the beginning of the universe, which I guess is somewhat tangentially related to not believing in a God because of the current claims of religious people being that God created the universe and everything like that. So I would agree to it being at least in the ballpark of relevant, but at the same time, I mean, you're asking science a question, but blaming it on atheism.
Wow, very interesting. And what is singularity made of? But of course, it's made up of an infinitely dense heat. Oh, you don't say. And what is heat made of? Well, it's funny that you ask. Heat is actually the result of movement from particles such as ions, molecules, and atoms.
Well, I mean, I feel like this just shows that he doesn't understand what the current reigning hypothesis is on the beginning of the universe, because the current best hypothesis about the beginning of the universe is that the inflation occurred when a quantum scalar field fluctuated from a false vacuum state to a true vacuum state, and it released all this energy. And so he's thinking of it as like this infinitely dense and hot point in space. And I think that that's kind of an incorrect way to look at it, because at least the way that I look at it is that there's no literal nothing that exists. Like, even if you remove all of the radiation out of any particular point in space, you still have an electrical charge, which means that there's still something there. So the scientific nothing is different than a literal absolute nothing. I think that he's thinking of this in terms that are incorrect. He's using this straw man to suggest that science can't give us good answers about the beginning of the universe, which it's still a hypothesis, because unless we can develop a time machine that can send us back to the inflation, the point at which our universe inflated, we'll never, 100% know. But we've got a really good idea about what happened. So he's just using this straw man to cast doubt on the scientific hypothesis of the inflation of the universe.
And where did the atoms, molecules, and ions come from?
Before we get to his straw man of atheism, so where all of the atoms and the particles and the subatomic particles and everything like that came from would be the inflation event. It filled the universe with inflaton particles, and then those particles transformed energy states into what would eventually become the matter that we have today.
Here's what I don't like about Christian TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
The smugness.
Okay.
Like, these fucks are just so smug.
Mm-hmm. That's a true story.
It annoys me. Like, it makes me not want to listen to them or take them any kind of serious.
I mean, I don't.
Why don't you ask your little sky daddy?
Why don't you ask your little sky daddy? I mean, we don't have to tell you to ask your sky daddy, because you get a book, and that book is all you know as far as like your religion goes.
Yeah, according to them, it's all they need to know.
Right. And so, I mean, why don't you? This is not how it goes. I mean, maybe some people get frustrated and everything, but I feel like this is just a real like straw man representation of the conversation. If this were to happen, it's definitely an argument from like the weakest position. I don't know. It's just ridiculous. Anyways,
he also makes atheists like super mean.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't find that most atheists are super mean. I find that most atheists are actually, somewhat decent, although there have been some problems that have been highlighted here recently, but that's for a different video.
But I mean, there's also asshole Christians and every group has assholes, and like, that's just true
Yes,
of any group.
it's definitely a human problem in general, regardless
Yes.
of what you believe.
Oh, was that it?
That was it. Yeah.
He just wanted to have an atheist fucking like demon growl sky daddy at a Christian.